Tel Aviv, May 14, 1948. David Ben-Gurion formally declares Israel an independent state and becomes the first prime minister soon after, a historic day that fulfilled the dream of the Jews to have a state of their own, while starting one of the longest and most difficult conflicts in modern times. For the Jews, the establishment of Israel represented a safe haven after centuries of persecution in Europe. But for many Arabs and Palestinians, it meant the loss of their homeland and territory, which they are still unwilling to accept. Hi, I'm Simon from Geopolitics Explained. On our channel, we provide you with exciting analyses and historical insights on the most important geopolitical issues. Today, we focus on the development of the Israeli-Palestine conflict in the period after the establishment of Israel. This is the second part of our four-part series on the establishment of Israel and the historical background of the conflict with Palestine. Stay tuned to learn more about this complex and fascinating topic, and take a look at the first part of the series if you haven't already done so. Let's return to Tel Aviv. On May 15, 1948, the day after the proclamation of the new Jewish state, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq declared war on this new state. The armies of these countries invaded the area to obstruct the establishment of Israel and support the Arab Palestinians. This invasion marks the beginning of an open war. The initial phase of this war is very chaotic. Israel's newly established army is struggling for survival, while the Arab states are making great strides. The Egyptian army attacks from the south, penetrating along the coast deep into the Negev. Jordan is focusing on Jerusalem and manages to seize East Jerusalem, including the Old City, while also making good ground in the West Bank. Syria and Lebanon attempt to push through the Galilee from the north, while Iraqi forces strive to conquer and occupy the West Bank. The result is violent clashes throughout the Middle East. At the same time, a major humanitarian crisis is unfolding as thousands of civilians are forced to flee their homes. The situation led to UN intervention and to a 4-week ceasefire. Diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict were made during that time, but remained largely unsuccessful. Israel utilized the ceasefire to heavily rearm. Tremendous quantities of weapons and vehicles were procured from Czechoslovakia with the support of Britain, and the army was restructured and better coordinated. Securing supply lines was especially important, a crucial aspect of the strategic thinking of Israel's leaders under David Ben-Gurion. On the other hand, Arab states lacked such preparations, which gave Israel a decisive advantage as the war progressed. Following the end of the ceasefire on July 8, 1948, the fighting escalated again. Israel launched several successful counteroffensives that changed the course of the war decisively. Operation Dani seizes the cities of Lydda and Ramleh to secure the vital supply link between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Operation Dekel seizes the city of Nazareth and large parts of Galilee, securing the north. Operation Yoav succeeds in driving the Egyptian army back from the Negev. Ultimately, Operation Hiram secures the entire northern Galilee and pushes back Syrian troops. These strategic victories are not only military successes, but also the result of clear strategic planning and effective use of the ceasefire. David Ben-Gurion once stated, "War is not only about who has more troops or weapons, but about who is better prepared." This is evident in Israel's efforts at this stage of the war, in which they make huge geographic gains in strategically important regions that put Israel in a strong position. In October 1948, the United Nations intervened again and pushed for another ceasefire, which eventually led to a de facto end to the major conflicts. Between February and June 1949, the UN negotiated a ceasefire agreement between the two parties, which was signed by all of them. The war ends with a clear victory for Israel. The newly established state is able to defend its independence and conquer the territory designated by the UN, as well as additional territories. But the war represents another darker side. For the Palestinians, the war constitutes a disastrous defeat. Approximately 700,000 Palestinians have been displaced or forced to flee their homes. Their villages were destroyed, their homes lost. Most of them sought refuge in surrounding Arab countries, where they are housed in refugee camps. The Palestinian displacement and exodus has gone down in history as the Nakba, which translates as catastrophe in Arabic. For the Palestinian people, the Nakba symbolizes the loss of their land, their homes, and their entire livelihood. Over 400 Palestinian villages are being destroyed and ethnically cleansed, with systematic mass executions, including those of women and children, the burning of mosques, rape, and other war crimes. Dr. Shir Hever, an Israeli raised in Jerusalem, explains the situation. On Saturdays, my family enjoyed visiting the Jerusalem forest, which grows around the Yad Vashem Museum. As a child, I thought it was a natural phenomenon for the forest to grow in stages, as there is no evidence that these are terraces of Palestinian agriculture in the devastated Palestinian village of Deir Yassin. The Deir Yassin massacre, one of the most horrific events of the Nakba, is being kept silent, and the mass grave of the victims remains unmarked. Zochrot has published a map containing the names of all the destroyed Palestinian towns and villages. When I looked at the map, I realized I didn't even understand what the Nakba was all about. It wasn't just about the Jerusalem forest. It was about every stage in my life. My school, my year of civilian service in Sderot, my partner's family home, my university, my favorite restaurant, my favorite beach. Every place used to be a Palestinian neighborhood or village. The Nakba represents profound trauma that continues to shape the lives of millions of Palestinians to this day and was certainly the darkest chapter in Israel's history. Israel's War of Independence ended in victory for Israel, but the wounds it inflicted remain unhealed to this day. The war, which began in 1948, continues to shape the Middle East today and remains one of the greatest challenges for peace in the region. The war between Israel and the Arab states and the Palestinians remains a major issue in the Middle East. The dramatic developments of the following years show just how complex and persistent this conflict is. But how do these conflicts affect the following years and the present? Tune in next time when we get to the bottom of this question. We would love it if you could like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss another video. If you're as fascinated by the subject as we are, we have a book recommendation for you, Palestine and the Palestinians, a story from the Nakba to the present by Muriel Asseberg, who details and maps the moving history of the Palestinian people.